So, you want to play a TTRPG, a tabletop role-playing game, but you don't know the first place to start. Well, I'm here to help you with that. So, first things first, what the hell even is a TTRPG? Well, a tabletop role-playing game is a collaborative storytelling game told by both a game master and a group of players. Now, to start a TTRPG, you need people who are willing to play, perhaps friends or people at a local game store or in a college at in a club or something like that. But once you have those people, the next thing you need to do is find out who is doing what, who is going to be the game master and who are going to be the players. Now, the game master creates the world and the environment that the players are going to be role-playing in. Say, a fantasy world with dragons and castles high on mountain peaks, kings of lordly might, and mages of mystical power. Or it could be a sci-fi setting with machines darting every corner of life, and people not knowing who to trust because those machines are everywhere. But whatever the scenario and place that the players are playing in, the next thing you need is what system you are playing. Perhaps it is Lancer, where you are piloting giant mechs flying through space. Or maybe it is something like Fabula Ultima, where you are... It's hard to describe. It is very much like Final Fantasy. Or perhaps it is something like Dungeons & Dragons, which I am sure many of you are familiar with from things like Critical Role or Dimension 20. Or perhaps even Stranger Things. I don't know. But once you have that system, and once you have gone through all the mechanical steps of character creation, things like your HP, your class, your race, your statistics, different skills you might have, the next thing you need is your backstory. And that is, of course, what I am mainly here to help you with. Now, to preface this, there is no one correct way to write a character backstory because that would be boring and all of them would look exactly the same. But there are some steps that most people end up taking that turn out pretty well. So you can take these, or you can do your own thing. Scribble some words down. See what happens. But to start, you are going to need at least a character concept. Now, what that means is a simple one-line explanation of who your character is at heart. Say, a farmer who wants to find more excitement in this boring life of his. Or maybe it is a rogue working for a thief's guild, sleeking throughout the shadows, trying to find their way to make their next bit of coin. Or maybe it is a mighty paladin, someone who stands up for truth, justice, and all things right. But it can be whatever. And sometimes it can be a little outlandish. For example, I created a character at one point that was a half-mimic flesh warp with bipolar disorder. It was a very fun experience. I got to eat people. In-game, of course. But no matter how outlandish or simplistic you might make your character concept, the most important thing to do is to always check with your game master to see if it fits into the world and the narrative they are creating, because it is a collaborative storytelling game, and you are not the main character, however much you might want to be. You will get your main character moments, but they will not be all the time. So make sure to check. After you have created your character concept, you are going to need the big story parts of them. Say the farmer once had a father who went off to work as a soldier in the army but never came back from a war. And that is one of the reasons why they are going out to adventure, besides just looking for a little excitement. They are trying to avenge their father, maybe find out who killed him. Maybe that rogue is a part of a rival thieves guild and is now working as an undercover spy, trying to steal contracts and maybe do a little bit of sabotaging within the rival guild. Or it can be as simple as something like, I don't know, you were on a ship and you were a stowaway for a long period of time, and that's how you came in contact with a powerful djinn on an island of mystery. But whatever it is, you do need, I would say, maybe 2 to 3 large story points that the dungeon master or game master can integrate into the world and can help your character become a bigger part of the story. But once you have created all of those different larger key story points, you are going to want a few details, maybe 2 to 3. I would say a good maximum is 6, because you don't want too many. It gets a little clogged up, and you may go from writing a 2 to 3 paragraph character backstory to 2 to 3 pages. And I can assure you, no game master wants to look through 2 to 3 pages of a backstory about a man who went off to a creek as a child and accidentally slipped and sprained his ankle. But you can write about that. Just don't write too much about that. And these small details can be anything from perhaps someone they're related to, or how they discovered one of their skills or proficiencies in a tool, like maybe they learned to paint as a child from their mother as a guild artisan, or maybe they learned to, have proficiency in something like animal handling because their father used to work as a lion tamer in a circus. Something like that can be helpful and interesting and give your character a little bit more pizzazz to show for it, as opposed to just being fairly bland, because sometimes characters can start to look samey when it comes down to it. So keep things interesting, but not too interesting. And of course, the last thing you need is really nothing else, because that's all you need. You have all those big key parts, and you have a few small details that really give a little bit of extra flair. But remember, whatever you do, make sure that character is still somewhat grounded, because while you are a character, you are not the main character, and it is your job to help with the story, not be the main focus of it. And while I myself do love a good villain monologue, you are certainly not the one who gets to monologue all the time. But maybe it'll come up once or twice. So keep things open, available, because you never want to be closed off as a character, because you are going to need some development, and your backstory might change a few times, because it will never be perfect. Because I know, as much as you know, that neither of us are the perfect creative writer, nor a best-selling author. But hey, maybe you are. I don't know for sure.